Hi, welcome back to Wild Speculations. I'm Daniel.
I'm Scott.
This week we talk about Critical Role Campaign 3, Episode 11, Chasing Nightmares.
Yes.
A long episode.
Long episode. Informational episode.
Yeah. One of the reasons it was long is because we begin with a fight.
Yeah.
Chetney saying, looking for my friend, and I've got my friends here.
Yeah, more friends, yeah.
Echoes what Dorian was saying a couple episodes ago. When I was like, should it have been a persuasion or an intimidation check? Interesting. Right off
my thought when he talked about friends, I hearkened back to Bertrand, and because the previous episode, Chetney and Dorian had to talk about friendship.
Yeah.
And that's what Bertrand and Dorian did right before Bertrand died. And I was like, oh shit, are all those conspiracies right as Chetney goes down?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. In fact, I think I had a similar thought, because I was like, wait, am I going to be right that he's actually going to be playing Gurge? Turns out we were sort of half right, or all the way right, just on a longer time scale.
Yeah.
Matt describes Chekhov's bomb.
Yep.
And we learned that the Nightmare King was looking for volunteers, and he asked them if they're willing to volunteer. And Laudna expresses her appreciation for the Nightmare King's aesthetic.
Yes. We have our first clue into Chetney right there, because Chetney goes, go on, I'm listening. The Nightmare King sniffs him and says, no, you won't do.
Yeah. Yeah, in retrospect, yeah, I guess that is the first clue. I wrote in my notes that the first clue that he wasn't a rogue is when he has advantage on his Arcana check.
Yeah.
To identify the monster that's before them.
That was a clue.
And in the moment, I was like, what? Why? But it went by so fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought the same. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And then it really threw me for a loop later when in the fight. Because, he says, I dragged the chisel across my back. I'm like, wait, you only do that if you're a blood hunter. I was like, wait, no. It said rogue, because I had mentioned blood hunter as an option with his werewolf thing. Yeah,
I mean, we were both like, this has got to be the campaign.
Yeah.
I mean...
but even when we were speculating what he was going to bring in after Bertrand, I was like, it might, and I dropped that after he was introduced because it said rogue on the placard. And I shouldn't have.
I was really annoyed at that. Especially, and the reason I was particularly annoyed with that deception is they're pre-taping these.
Yeah.
So much so that they had weeks between taping episode 10 and episode 11. Likely Thanksgiving, Christmas. And episode 11 was recorded in the new year.
Yeah. It was the first of the new year.
Yeah. They could have told us, the viewers, the truth. Because the players would have known already.
Thank you, Rose. It's good to be back.
And because they're pre-taping, they have an opportunity to do something that they've never done on the show.
Yeah.
Which is the use of dramatic irony.
Yeah.
When the audience knows something the characters do not. Generally, that's only true mechanics-wise.
Yeah.
So I was really annoyed that they did that line. I think it was unnecessary.
Yeah. I think it was to keep in the spirit of live shows, of it being live, you know, and we find out when it's revealed.
If that's the case, I would prefer they not do the card.
Yeah.
They just don't show us anything.
The placard. Yeah. We're talking about us having been right about Chetney being a werewolf with his strength score or blood hunter, which I had proposed, and then thought I was wrong because the placard said rogue.
But Orem backing him up by drawing his weapon was great.
Yeah.
And so like, oh, okay, so we're doing this. We learned that the professor guy is his overseer, and the person in charge is Armand.
Mm-hmm.
And my brain went to Hawkeye.
Mm. Yeah.
And the Armands.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how close it's going to be.
Yeah.
Unintentionally, just because, Hawkeye was written months and months ago. This is pre-recorded.
Yeah. And I'm sure Matt had at least most of this arc.
Yeah.
Somewhat fleshed out before Hawkeye even came. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just funny to me. It's one of those things. It's like the development of Babylon 5 and Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
Or Deep Impact and Armageddon.
Yeah.
I mean, you can point to a lot of things.
Anytime they do
in Hollywood,
such similar back to back.
Yeah.
I mean, they just I knew something was we were going to find out the truth about Chetney because, like we said, they kept dropping the bombs. There was all volunteer. No, you're not good. Sniff him. No, you're not good enough. The advantage on the Arcana. Start stripping his clothes. Yeah. I mean, what is that unless you're going to bust out of them like the Hulk, you know?
Yeah.
And then drawing the chisel across his back.
I'm fairly certain, I haven't read The Blood Hunter in a long time, or any of its revisions, but I'm fairly certain the transformation, your clothes transform with you. Because that's standard procedure.
It is, and I think that was done just for flair. You don't actually change size, so the clothes should still fit you anyway.
We get the animating bombs.
Yep.
As the start to our initiative. I'm not sure the player's use of D&D Beyond is that great of a ad.
No, I think that's why D&D Beyond isn't the sponsor every episode anymore.
Because they've been having some rough times with it.
Yeah, and Ashley especially this episode.
Yeah. I don't know that I agree necessarily with Sam's never let Ashley go first comment. I think
No, you just never let the wizard go first.
Yeah. And yeah, Rose, it's a matter of having it on a sheet in front of you or having it loaded up.
Yeah, I prefer the sheet in front of me. I mean, I may just be old, or maybe just old school, I don't know, but I prefer having the books compared to PDFs.
Yeah.
You know, I can find things in a book a lot quicker than I can find things on a PDF, even with a search function. Because I usually know roughly where it is.
Yeah.
And can get there fairly quickly. But again, I've been playing this game since '84. I've had a lot of experience rummaging through handbooks and stuff.
Yeah. We also learn somehow they can access each other's sheets.
Yeah, I don't know if that was a glitch or what, or if that's something they can always do. I don't know if it accidentally signed her into Laura's, or if it accidentally signed her into Matt's, because Matt would have access to all their sheets.
Or there was some sort of tablet-to-tablet share function happening.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I have no clue.
But it made, like, it does beg the question, did the cast know about the Blood Hunter lie?
Yeah.
And I don't think all of them did. Maybe one or two did. But I don't know.
Honestly, I think...
Like, Liam seemed genuinely surprised and excited.
And so did Ashley.
Yeah.
Not so much surprised, but excited, you know, that her hunch.
Yeah.
That he would, you know, and that was the werewolf thing, I think, was her hunch. I think probably Travis and Matt definitely knew, and possibly Laura. I don't know if Taliesin knew or not, but I can see Travis having asked Taliesin about the Blood Hunter. Maybe in guise of, I'm thinking of this before Campaign 3 started. You just played one.
Yeah.
You know, just get feedback for the class. Because it wasn't played much in Campaign 2, but it was played on both ends of Campaign 2.
Yeah.
Because it is the easiest way to fulfill Travis's werewolf fixation.
Yeah, without breaking the game or anything.
Yeah.
And giving him actual lycanthropy.
Yeah. Which, although thanks to Ravenloft, is a uncommon magic item. You can get a Luckstone that makes you a werewolf, too. It's cursed.
Does it give you the immunity to weapons and everything?
It gives it to you exactly as listed as contracting lycanthropy in the DMG.
So yeah. Bad guy goes second, hits him with a lightning bolt.
Yeah.
Because they're all lined up on the stairs. And Imogen, with blindness, deafness cast, crippling him basically.
Yeah.
Was great. I felt bad for Dorian casting Shatter.
Yeah.
Because he didn't get the principal benefit of that spell. And arguably the reason he chose to cast it.
Yeah.
Which is it does double damage to objects and structures.
And bust out Gurge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Matt gave him the double damage on the chair. And I'm almost positive he didn't do it on the bars.
Yeah. Yeah, because he rolled 13 points of damage, so it should have been 26.
Yeah.
But.
I think an iron door has 22 hit points.
Yeah. Yeah, he should have obliterated the cage
Um,
and left it open.
so yeah.
But I mean, as you and I have both said multiple times, and Liam said multiple times as Caleb, read your spells.
Yeah. Like even I have to double check.
Yeah, I double check my spells all the time, and I'm always playing a caster of some kind.
Yeah. Ashton rages and smashes, and he rolls his temporal morass ability.
Yeah.
Which gives him no benefit.
I really want to see this subclass written out. I know they aren't doing it yet because we haven't seen all the features, but
yeah,
just release it in the Empathy Cleric. Even if it's... I wonder if they're saving it for a new source book.
Well, also, and I thought about this in this combat as well with the Empathy Cleric, that I think Sam is doing it wrong. Because I think the design of the Empathy Cleric sounds to me like you get these temporary hit points.
Mm-hmm.
And if you hit somebody, you can do that as extra damage.
Right.
If you don't, you take the damage, i.e., you lose the temporary hit points.
Yeah.
Because it should come off the temporary hit points.
First, yeah.
And I don't think Sam is doing that. I think Sam's applying the damage to his hit points.
Oh, yeah.
And then just deleting the temporary hit points. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm like 88% certain that that's what he's been doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd really like to see those subclasses written out.
And yeah, I don't really like the randomness, the random effects of the rage. I think if you're going to have multiple potential effects on your rage, that you get to choose. But, I mean, thus far, he seems to be enjoying it.
I would assume, like, a lot of things in subclasses and classes and stuff, class features, or even backgrounds, it's you can roll on this table or choose one. And Talison's the type of guy that would roll.
Interesting. Yeah, Rose. And I think Taliesin likes the gambler thing. He likes rolling. And part of that, I think, is that he's the old hat. So everything is easy mode.
I gotta say, I enjoy that too. Like, that's part of the reason why.
Jangdor, yeah. Well, I mean, most of us do.
Yeah.
Most.
But that's one of the reasons, like, the Blood Hunter and stuff, while it's not an optimal character class, I like it. I'm actually surprised that our friend that plays with us, Alex, doesn't like it more because it's another step in resource management. He's real big on all of that kind of stuff, normally. But I just see it as resource management. And
yeah, I guess. But
I don't know.
Orem. Now, on my rewatch, I forgot this and didn't want to rewind. And I'm trying to determine whether or not Orem had to dash in order to do bait and switch, or if he had the movement and just forgot to make his attack.
I think
Because
he had the
he action surged to make an attack.
No, I think bait and switch.
It's not an action.
It's not?
Nope.
Okay. Is it part of a movement or is it a bonus action?
It's part of your movement.
Oh, it's part of your movement. Okay. Huh.
Yeah, because that's what, in prepping for the episode, our episode tonight, I was like, is it an action? So I looked it up. And Snoopy, I think that's just Sam.
Yeah. I mean,
I am waiting for him to get in trouble, though.
look at Scanlan, look at Tyrion, look at Not/Veth. It's Sam coming through the character.
Yeah. So he's treading a line, and it's the line of, D&D can be therapy, role-playing games can be therapy,
Mm-hmm.
but don't make your DM your therapist.
Yeah.
And he's sort of perfectly illustrating why you shouldn't make the DM or any other player your therapist.
Yeah.
In my mind.
Yeah, I can see that. Another thing is we have to realize, like, he's fairly new to the world as far as his current memory experience. I mean, I still am subscribed to my theory that he is the Aoraton that Dancer reverse engineered to make the others. That's why he glitched when they asked about his past and stuff.
And why he got super cagey later in this episode.
Yeah.
When Dorian's like, so many people are so shifty. And Jetney's like, I know. He's like, I'm specifically talking about you. But then they all turn on Sam, and Sam's like,
Yeah. But if you remember, I played the sorcerer in one of your Nadai games that in Xanathar's I rolled on all this stuff for sorcerer, and it was like one of them you were created in a vat.
Yeah.
And I was like a fully grown but 2 years old, and I didn't know things.
Yeah.
And so that can sometimes come off like a jerk because you just don't realize. Like when the two people killed each other, I'm like, why dig two graves? Just throw them in the same one. Because he didn't know any better.
Yeah.
It comes off kind of cold and callous, but it wasn't, from his point of view, it wasn't that way.
Yeah. Laudna, Hexes, Elch Blast, crits.
Yep.
The first natural
Warlock's
20 of the
Warlock.
episodes. Yeah. Well, her second turn is when she really leaned into the Warlock meme.
Yes.
The say it, the Bart Simpson we're all about. Say it.
Yeah.
I cast Eldritch Blast.
Yeah, but I mean, and I think it's funny, I'm a warlock, this is what I do, but she specifically took a level in sorcerer to get away from warlock because she wants to develop her own power.
Yeah.
Just take the third level, get Pate, turn Pate alive, then go back to sorcerer.
Yeah. One of the things that also kind of upset me a little bit for Travis is Chetney. He's got his chisel and a hammer, and he wants to make 2 attacks. And Matt tells him you need 2-weapon fighting to do that as a bonus action.
Right. And
I was like, no, he doesn't.
Yeah, and
they just both have to be light, and presumably that's a light hammer.
I thought that too, and then what really confused me is, according to Crit Roll Stats and according to a tweet that Matt put out, the hammer is actually reflavoring, it acts as a shield. So he's wielding like a knife and a shield with the hammer. So he shouldn't have been able to do 2-weapon fighting anyway if it's a reflavored shield. for a different reason, and I was just really confused.
Okay.
Like, if it's going to be a shield, let it be a shield. Where's the 2-weapon fighting?
Yeah. And I think from a flavor, like if you're flavoring tools and woodworking tools, a planer is a much better shield analog.
Yeah.
Than a hammer.
But the hammer, according to Matt on Twitter, is Chetney's shield.
Okay.
Which, as a blood hunter, he's proficient with medium armor and shields.
Okay. Interesting.
Now, next level, when he gets 5th level, he'll have extra attack, and he'll be able to attack twice as a blood hunter.
Yeah. Fresh cut grass, spiritual weapon, and a headbutt.
Yep.
Destroys the chair. Good opening round, I think, for everybody.
Yes.
Imogen probably the best in terms of strategy and like overall effectiveness.
Yeah.
And because casting blindness prevented damage.
Yeah.
And got damage done to him.
Yeah, she was definitely the big gun of round 1 at least.
Yeah. Round 2. Whoo, boy. Fern's action economy. He fears them. Then we have Orm's action economy confusion.
Yeah.
Well, at this level, I attack twice.
4th and 5th level, like we just said, when you get extra attack.
Yeah.
It's been a minute since they've been below 5th level now.
True. But I also think that might be foreshadowing a level up next episode.
Yeah.
Because I think Matt probably told them, think about what you're going to do.
I'm honestly half surprised that they didn't level up at the end of this episode.
Yeah.
Between that fight, which was a hell of a fight, and all the narrative stuff that came afterwards.
Yeah, like, especially with Orm
and Orm, Imogen. With Imogen, with Ashton revealing his connection to Dorian's brother, you know, just everything coming together. Chetney's reveal, a lot of narrative stuff happened this episode.
Yeah.
So I was half surprised that they didn't level up here.
I think we're going to get a fast forward to the ball.
Yes.
And perhaps on the departing to the wilds, they'll level up.
Yeah, they'll definitely level up before they head out.
I think they almost have to, in my mind.
So do you think the wild will happen the following episode, or do you think they'll level up at the break?
No, I imagine we will get a fast forward, and it will have probably 25 to 35 minutes talking about what they're going to do over that week. And most of it's probably going to focus on Imogen.
Mm-hmm.
And what shopping they want to get done for equipment. We might discover how much a simmer costs to buy or rent.
Hmm.
But I think it's going to be fast forward, get to the ball. The ball will happen at break. The break will happen when either Armand arrives at the ball,
mm-hmm.
or when Esteros is attacked.
Yeah.
And that's where we're going to go to break. We come back, we roll initiative.
Okay.
and the rest of the episode is going to be at the ball.
Okay.
Which would then give them a fight to level up. Okay, now level up into 5th level at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Would be my guess. I could be wrong, but like to me, it seems like the players have indicated to Matt they are not going to leave the city until the ball.
Yeah.
And all of their pressing concerns have been addressed and met and taken care of. So now we just have downtime, basically.
Yeah.
Which is why I say I think we're going to get a fast forward. He will give Laura the chance to research more.
Yes, it depends on the further research, because now that we found out that her mom was a subject of this thing,
yeah,
there may be something else in town.
Yeah.
We've got shadow governments. We've got experiments on people. Their kids gaining power. Like I asked you, is Imogen an MK Ultra baby?
Well, yeah, and then I made the connection to 11.
Yeah.
From Stranger Things. Which I don't know if I'll be able to unsee that. And I will be eagerly awaiting for her to lose her hair. But yeah. The other big thing that came out of the fight was the Nightmare King sniffing Fern.
Yeah.
You smell like a Callaway.
Yep.
We also get a polymorph into a turtle.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering why a turtle?
Yeah, without Ford there, it doesn't make much sense.
Except it might. In the sense that Ford had a lot of nightmares. This guy's the Nightmare King.
Yeah.
He may be friends with Artagan. Who doesn't like Ford?
True.
So, and because I think we got confirmation that this is extra planar, like the end.
Oh yeah.
End stuff that we're going to be dealing with is extra planar stuff. Like it wouldn't surprise me if Matt uses that as a potential time to put in meta jokes.
Yeah.
And cross campaign stuff. Cromwell family thing from Halloween Town. I'm drawing a blank. Pretty sure it's Nightmare Before Christmas, but I can't think of the families. But we get an epic avert the TPK moment.
Yeah.
That happens very rarely. And even more rarely when it happens back to back. Of bad guy drops PC. Next turn, legendary action. Drops another PC. And between first one rolls a natural 20.
Yep.
On his turn, rolls a natural 20. They're both up. And
did you also have Chumbawamba playing in your head during that? I get knocked down, but I get up again. Ain't nothing can keep me down.
Not really. Although I could see why. But, like, my thing the thing that I took from that is Dorian slinking away to heal himself, and Orem standing up, slipping through the guy's legs, and stabbing him.
Yeah, right in the fanus.
And we get the Captain America, I can do this all day.
Yep.
So good.
Personally, I was just really jealous because I could never do that on a death save.
Yeah.
If I get to death saves, I'm just automatically thinking of my next character.
Yeah, that's true. But he activates Chekhov's bomb, Misty Steps, and then Dimension Doors. Well, not Misty Step, Phase Step. Because they're different. One is an ability.
One is a spell.
So, yeah. And Orem and Laudna both start swiping papers to get whatever notes might be there.
Yep.
I was trying to figure out, like, they stop and are like, why was he asking about your family? And what's that all about? And it's like, there's literally a ticking bomb.
Yeah.
Can we do this later?
Rose, I believe that he was not supposed to be beatable at this point. I don't know if entirely unbeatable or just improbable unbeatable. But I don't think this was supposed to be the Nightmare King's end.
Agreed. I think it would technically be possible for them to beat him if they focus fired on it.
Yes.
But I will say Matt cleverly designed the minions in the fight to be heavy hitting enough that the party were like, we can't ignore those.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think this fight was designed to defeat the Nightmare King. I think the plan was always that he was going to leave.
Yeah. And this comes back to your NPC's goals in a fight and how that can affect the structure of the fight and how you want to introduce villains. And this is a great way to introduce a villain.
Yeah.
He was below a 11th level caster. And I'm pretty sure, I don't think he was higher than 9th level caster.
Okay.
Because his Firebolt was only doing 2d10.
Yeah.
And Dimension Door is a 5th level spell. So he's got to be at least a 7th level caster.
Right. Yes. Laudna fangirling. Laudna giving off the same but different energy towards the Nightmare King that Nod gave to the Minotaur. It's like same but different.
Yeah. And her being immune to fear in her form of dread.
Yes.
Sort of was the mechanical icing on the cake. And that may be how she decided in that moment to express that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a creature of evil and darkness too. Respect your branding. Which makes me wonder if she is going to come up with her own name. Like, own nickname to be known by.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you have Delilah Briarwood whispering in your brain,
Oh, and I also loved at the end of the fight as they're running, and Fern and Imogen are basically standing in front of the nuke, about to go off. Talison's like, "I'm not waiting for you.
Yeah.
I'm out."
Yeah.
They all run up and jump out the window, and there's a
To
guard.
be fair, he's already had one character killed by 5th level. He doesn't want another.
Yeah. Yeah, fair. And Chetney's the one that gets the guard to fuck off.
Yeah.
By roaring at him. And Matt loves blowing up his towers.
Yeah. Campaign 1, episode 13, the Illithid Tower.
Mm.
Campaign 2, episode 12, the tower when they stole the dodecahedron.
Allura's tower.
Yeah.
Although I guess maybe you just have to clump that into the destruction of Iman, but
yeah. Here, campaign 3, episode 11. By campaign 14, the group's going to come together because the tower explodes.
Well, arguably they did because it was Zalora's tower collapsing.
Yeah.
Where they got the carpet.
Yeah.
So he blew up her tower twice.
But within the first 12, 13 episodes, there's always a tower that explodes in a campaign with Matt.
Yeah. We go to break, and then we have Chetney's truth, and he admits to the whole job thing was total bullshit.
Which I said.
We also learned the answer to which moon does lycanthropy care about on Exandria.
Mm-hmm.
The answer is Katha.
Yep.
But that Ruidus also plays a role.
Yes, and that's also in the new Tal'Dorei book, which we'll cover
next week.
Yep.
Esteros finally comes through for them in getting them the meeting, getting her
yep.
Library card, basically. Laudna and Fresh Cut Grass discussed for everyone and for Lord Esteros a potential January 6th plot or the burning of the Reichstag plot that's going on.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that my political intrigue theory was correct.
Yeah.
And they might go down the road of trying to stop and uncover some of that and chase down the Nightmare King and Volley. That if they don't fast forward, that's what will be the next episode. Is them trying to chase them down. Although, no, they have to. If Esteros wants to expose Armand at the ball, they have to get those ducks in a row beforehand. So, probably not fast forward then.
Maybe.
But they get their meeting with the anger, and Orym now, I got the feeling the thought occurred to me, has he been lying about the Keyleth sending him out? And then they recounted and they said, he's like, well, these two were with me when we went to go see Keyleth.
Yeah.
And she told us about this. But I still don't think that means that she has sent him to do anything.
I think he's out on his own.
On a revenge.
Yeah.
Or some sort of self-punishment.
Yeah.
That he doesn't feel he's good enough to go home until he
survived that attack, and his significant other didn't.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's sent by Keyleth, but I think she's like, I understand this is something you have to do. Here's the information. You have my blessing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think she knows he needs to do this, and him doing this is a good thing for Exandria.
Yeah.
And might potentially, if she's keyed into this 30-year cycle that was tipped off during Imogen's research.
Yeah. Now, do you think that's a double full moon? Where they're both full at the same time? Because Katha's on a monthly cycle. Ruidus is on a 6-month cycle. It goes full once every 6 months. So twice a year, Ruidus is full. Do they line up to where they're on the same day once every 30 years?
No, it would be more often than that. Like once a year, they would both be full, at least.
At the same exact time?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe it's a conjunction, like the Dark Crystal.
I think it might have, yeah. That's more likely, I think. Yeah. Because yeah, Rose, yeah, very Bushido. It's very yeah, like Yojimbo or that kind of thing. So it's about every 11 years that a particular place on Earth will experience a solar eclipse. But a solar eclipse happens all the time.
Right.
It's just, are you there to witness it?
Are you at the part of the world that's going to see it?
Yeah. So it may be something like that, where these astronomical events happen regularly.
Right.
But there's a geographical location that's important, and that's not always in the same spot.
Right.
So, but I think 30 years is enough time for basically humans to almost forget about it. Jangdor, I think that's something that we have to learn about in the wilds.
Yeah.
And if I had to guess, that house was not crescent-shaped for no reason.
Right.
Orem has a crescent tattoo.
Yeah, he's got the moons tattooed on his arm.
So, yeah, there's some connection, and I think it probably has to do with the moons and planar travel. And the voice of the Tempest has gone to all 4 planes, all 4 elemental planes.
Mm-hmm.
She's been to hell.
Well, and really, when you think about it,
Pandemonium.
The Ashari are, they're tied to the elements. They're also tied to the moons, in a way. Because Derrig, Liam's character in the Wedding one-shot, had the same tattoo that Orem has, indicating that possibly Orem was trained by Derrig. maybe.
Hmm.
And you've got Keyleth, the voice of the Tempest, the leader of the Ashari, is a moon druid.
Yeah.
So the Ashari are very much tied to the moons as well.
Yeah.
On some level.
Yeah. And again, it comes down to the Divine Gate.
Yeah.
And I think House Luna, perhaps not now, but the more they dig into the twins and the crystal,
Mm-hmm.
what do you call it? Crystal
Stone?
No, the crystal plants.
Oh.
Crystal Grove? Shard Grove?
Something like that.
Why they were going there
Mm-hmm.
is going to be why they were killed. And it wasn't an Assassin's Guild, unless it's an extraplanar Assassin's Guild, because they were fiends.
Yeah.
Because only fiends turn to goo like that.
Yeah. And like I pointed out a couple episodes ago, we're talking about, we've got this 30-year event that lasts, a little bit of, but we had Plane Rider Rin's notes saying there was something that was weakening the barriers between the planes.
In Campaign 2, yeah.
In Campaign 2. We had the Cobalt Soul Scholar that had found all this information about Ruidus, who was studying Ruidus, that they never got into depth about and learned about.
Yeah.
Who is probably not coincidentally from Uthadurn, where Chetney is from.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I think potentially Lucian and his Claret Order people, the Claret Orders may have been trying to uncover potential allies,
Mm-hmm.
and he just fell to corruption.
Yeah.
Of the Somnovum.
Yeah.
So yeah, we still don't know what their goal initially was in all that research and what they were doing. And so yeah, we have the Lycans or the Blood Hunters that Chetney's after to look for.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that Crystal Shard place or Shard Grove, probably my guess is it's either an old Earth Ganassi is a incursion from the Earth plane of Earth, or a new one.
Yeah.
The Anger wasn't able to tell Orem why the kids were going there.
Yeah.
Maybe the mother could, but I don't think they will think to ask that question until they are there.
Yeah.
Until they see what they were going out there to see. And
realize it's family business, so...
the combination of Fern and Orem, because
Mm-hmm.
Orem may be able to recognize the planar energies bleeding over, and Fern has experience with that too.
Yeah.
And so the question becomes, how long has this been here?
And, I mean, theoretically, Ashton might, just because he's an Earth Ganassi, and if it's tied to the plane of Earth.
Yeah. Well, Talison's side mission is that way, Rose. He is.
Yeah.
It is. They have to go through the wilds. The Heartmoor is where they have to go. But Matt, this time, is doing a much better job of weaving all the personal stories into his main plot.
Yeah.
Where in campaign 2, they were quite desperate.
Yeah.
And it was through circumstance we found each other, and some of them overlapped.
Yeah. Each campaign, the personal stories are more closely tied to the main storyline. Because even campaign 1.
Yeah, well, I mean, campaign 1 suffered from all the kind of games that start as one-shots.
Yeah.
Where different things as you play become retconned and pulled forward.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt Colville observed this about Matt, and I am more like Colville in my game prep.
Yeah.
Where I will create the world, and I will put this here and everything, and you guys can go find it or whatnot.
Yeah.
Where Mercer is very much more about being more Tolkien, where the journey that you are on is as much an internal one as an external one. And in campaign 1, they got a little bit of that.
Mm-hmm.
Campaign 2 was very much that.
Yeah.
But the threads were
scattered
a bit.
Yeah.
Where they had some crossover, but not a lot. This one, we're finding out, as one person's like, well, I kind of need to do this. And, oh, that's important to me.
Yeah.
And now there's 2 or 3 ways that Matt can get them to each plot point that he's doing.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Another thing, Taliesin in-game pitches. It's his. I took it as Taliesin's way of running by a group name.
Oh.
We're the new nobodies.
Yeah.
And I think they may actually go with that.
God, I hope not.
I hope not. Well, okay. Cons. It doesn't really say anything, and especially if they're going to announce themselves as that to a bunch of socialite elites.
Yeah.
Pros. It screams a bunch of 80s era UK punk merch theme stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah. They seem much quicker about trying to come up with a name.
So, the reason we got Vox Machina is because their pre-stream name, they decided we can't go on stream with this.
Right. The shits.
And that was a joke in a tavern.
Yeah.
Sometime into their campaign. I'm not entirely sure how deep into the campaign it was. And the Mighty Nine was a meta joke.
Yes.
Because they were rolling 9s everywhere. On D20s, or damage dice, like everything was 9s.
Yeah.
This campaign, we don't have a meta joke yet.
No.
There hasn't been a flash of let's call ourselves this. And
yes, super high intensity team.
I think the shits was also named partially after one of the bars.
Maybe. That sounds familiar.
Because I think one of the taverns they went to, they eventually changed one of the letters.
Yeah.
To be shits. So, yeah. We haven't had a moment like that of inspiration. And I don't know. That's why I think the longer they wait and the more the parallels with Vox Machina's story start to reveal themselves to them, I think they may just take on Vox Machina's name.
Yeah, I still.
I'm still sticking with that. We'll see. But like I said, next week we will be talking about Tal'Dorei Reborn and whether or not Campaign 4 characters are teased
Easter
within.
egged.
Until then, we will see you guys next week.
Yes.